Also would perform a lot of things in progress. So we'd be working on something in the afternoon and then we'd perform it at night. And what that helped me to do is not wait, not wait, say, oh, I gotta work on this more, it kind of threw craft out the window, and just the quality of performing had to do with the quality of being there and committing to an action. The main thing that I learned probably and was very useful for film acting is acting is not about emotion. It's about doing things. You do things and then stuff happens. It works on you and you make yourself available to that. Where a lot of actors, when I talk to them, they're more interested in a kind of construct that it kind of conveys a certain idea of what kind of the person it is or what kind of story it is. I'm not that interested in the story. I'm not that interested in character. I'm interested in events, sensations, atmosphere. That's what's great about cinema. That's what, TV can't touch. That's what theater can't touch, It's the total form in the respect of music, light, boop, 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 So with the Wooster Group, even though it was a theater, it was kind of a total theater. We used all those things. And there was also an amateur aesthetic. So, which drove me crazy as a young kid, because I thought, hey, these people aren't serious. They're great to be around, but they're crazy. Because they weren't doing it for a career. They were doing it just for now. And that was the beauty, not only of the Wooster Group, but a lot of what's going on in the mid-'70s and early '80s in New York. That's kind of, you can get nostalgic about. But the truth is, there were lots of people making things that didn't have a career, and people, they knew it. It was more like a social thing, and they were living their life, and who knew when it would end. With the Wooster Group, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Wooster Group, but it's a small company. It still exists, and they're still making great work. We did, in the beginning, we approached every film, every performance as it was going to be the last, which sounds kind of cute, but it was really, that was what kind of edge we were living on.
Well, and talk about, this is just occurring to me, but when you talk about control versus abandon in performance style, that's really what comes across from the Wooster Group in its totality, too. I mean, there's this kind of anarchic chaos, but you also sense that, and I know that everything is worked out to the second. I mean,
there's pockets of looseness, but and it's also evolved. The aesthetics has evolved over the years, because when we were younger, it was probably a little more abandon than control.
I can't speak to that period, sadly. If I can time travel, I'm going to get right on that. Anybody else out there? Yeah.
So, you mentioned earlier about how that scene with the lamp on the street was particularly. Sorry, the scene with the lamp. How it was particularly challenging. How you said that the child wanted to go, go multiple times, and actually not multiple times, but it felt more, difficult. And I guess I was just curious, compared to Abel's other films, or just, I don't know, just anything that may come to mind that you've worked on, is there anything about this film in particular that was specifically challenging to you, that was memorable?
It's perhaps his most personal film, and it's perhaps deceptively his loosest film. Because, as I said, sometimes, he placed things and then he'd step away and let it happen. I mean, he's a shooter. He loves to shoot, but he's not shooting the camera. Zeitlinger is, but he's on the image. But as far as the mise en scène and actually the scenes, he's told me what he wants to see, and then it's my job to manifest it. And that's a beautiful relationship to have with a director-actor relationship. And in some ways, I recognize it in other people. I mean, it's very different, but Lanthimos, Eggers, they're people that make a world that's so complete, they don't have to say anything to you. It's there. you enter it, you have the world work on you, you know that you have to accomplish certain things, but they do their job. Sometimes I think, the writer imagines it, the director, makes the world, and then the actor inhabits the world. That's a little broad, but, with him, he really set it up and then kind of stepped back. And because there's not conventional, he loves to hang out in the cutting room and try stuff. But with this, there was no conventional shooting. It was all very loose. So what you had is what you had. So it's really, where to drive the story and which take to take, because you can't cut, well, you can. As Lars von Trier says, you can cut anything to anything. But, anyway, I think I said it, sorry.
Thank you.
And how soon after this one wrapped did Siberia go into production?
I can't remember, but we were already, you can tell in Tomasso we're setting the seeds for Siberia. Yeah. And is anybody going to see Siberia after seeing Tomasso? Okay. Good on you. No, it's kind of cool because if you like Tomasso, it's a further step, and it may be an overstep. But it's taking something from the impulse behind Tomasso and then dealing with a lot of the same things through kind of dream language. Very influenced by Jung's Red Book, or at least inspired by it. Anyway, Siberia's a strange one, but I think, and certainly not perfect, but there are really beautiful things in it, I think.
I want to say that you have to watch both. You can't watch both if you don't already have a ticket tonight, but there are more screenings in Siberia. Who else? Anybody else? Somebody who hasn't gone yet.
Do you have any kind of dream role, like whether it's a character from literature or culture, someone you would love to play?
I don't. You don't know what a role is until you do it. And I think if you're drawn to something, there's such a hard expectation. And you always want to, the joke is, actors tend to be egocentric or narcissistic people, but the real trick is to lose that. And I think when you want to play a character, it's because you think you'll be good at it, or you'll enjoy it, or it's kind of self-serving. And also, if you know what it is, why do it? You always have to, I think you always have to reach, and you always have to go towards something and not even worry about arriving, as long as you're going towards something. And for me, everybody's different, but for me, that's when I feel best, and I feel most honest, and like, even if I fail, or even if the movie doesn't work, I know I contributed the best I could. I gave myself to it. And if it doesn't work, it's collaborative. I can't do everything, where I imagine if you've got an idea of a character, you're usually anticipating the rewards and the pleasures of that. And I think that's dangerous.
Are you working on anything now or in the future to be released?
Sorry, what was
I'm
that?
getting a little
Are you working
deaf.
on anything now? Or?
I'm shooting something right now in New York City, which is great because I don't shoot that often in New York. I shoot a lot overseas and a lot of places in the world, even in American movies. I kind of have some indication, but I've shot a lot in remote places and faraway places because I think I must be attracted to that material or something. And also a lot of movies are not economically, they're not shooting in the US anymore. I seldom shoot in New York or in LA, for example, and certainly not in Kansas. I'm not opposed to it, but talk about dreams and roles that you want to do, not necessarily.
Well, and that reminds me I was curious about the role of Rome in this film. I mean, not just in the
It's
film
huge.
itself, but
We're
the
two
development.
idiot immigrants. We're trying to figure it out. You know, it's a great shakedown. I mean, for both of us, it's been very important, and I think it's been a thing of growth and challenge. It's really interesting. You know, particularly as an actor, it's not like they don't know me from movies and I don't get, you know, pass on certain things because I have some celebrity. It's not like that, but still, just dealing with people and learning the language and learning the way and accepting that you're leaving your life behind to start a new life is quite dynamic, and that's paralleled by Abel. You know, it's sad to me that you say Abel Ferrara in the U.S. and they're like, oh, yeah, King of New York, Bad Lieutenant, Ms. 45. Okay, good films. I mean, interesting films, but he's done so much more, and it just doesn't arrive here. So I'm very proud to be a part of continuing his work because I think he's maturing as a filmmaker, and you know, he was like a hot button genre filmmaker before, and now he's doing some really interesting things, and he's considered because he's a real lovable, you know, person. If he came in here, he'd be much more fun than me. You know, hey, how's everybody doing? I just, you know, like that.
Amazing impression.
Well, my point is, I'm happy that, you know, Anthology is showing some of his movies. They have before, but I mean, you know.
Have before, will again, and yeah, it's too bad Abel couldn't be here himself. I think we have time for like one or two more. Go for it.
Good night. I guess, you know, the performer in me, where are you going? There's something happening here, sit down.
When Udo Kier was here, he almost locked the doors.
Who did?
Udo Kier, when Udo Kier was here.
Lovely guy.
This might be going back to the well a little bit, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about like preparation, especially when you're learning more and more about the character and the story in real time on the day. I'm curious, like for you, what was your preparation like, or if there was any, that made you feel prepared every day to go to set and like ready to do your job?
You know, we were making it as we went along, so you couldn't really prepare. You couldn't anticipate what was required. You know, so much is just like, you know, if I met you right now and they said this is what happens in the scene, we just would do it. You know, not a lot of preparation. But as I said ad nauseum, I know Abel pretty well, and he knows me pretty well, and this is sort of a personal film. So I knew the heart of it. And then other than that, it's problem solving and just trying to make your day and make sure nobody gets hurt and we get the film shot.
All right, last question for now. Oh man, who knows? I just have to point at the guy who's kind of isolated, otherwise I'm confusing you.
I
That's
just wanted
happening.
to ask what it was like working on Wild at Heart with David Lynch.
Great. I mean, real easy. I mean, my biggest memory, the biggest takeaway is it's the easiest movie I did ever. And it was fun. And that's a good role. And the writing's good. And I put those teeth in and the character came alive. It's really a perfect case of some external thing that became a trigger for the pretending. And I've talked about it a lot, but it's so concrete, you know. I say, if I could bring up any of you up here and put those dentures in your mouth, and you would feel like Bobby Peru, because I could not close my mouth. So, because there were uppers and the bottoms over my teeth, so I got a big mouth. I had room for it, thank God. But this was me at rest. I mean, as an experiment, I don't expect everybody to do it, but go like this. Most natural thing is you're going. I mean, it puts you in a place where you feel like you want something to chew on or you want to mess with something. It became a trigger. And then, just the badness of all that, that's probably deeply embedded in me sometimes. From, something repressed, being an obedient middle-class kid in Wisconsin. This was the permission to act out.
Okay, I think we're gonna wrap this one up, but Siberia, you'll be back.
For the four of you.
We'll be back on Sunday, a week from Sunday for Light Sleeper. Thank you so much.
If you are coming to the next screening, you